Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. Thank you so much for spending your time with us here on this beautiful Friday afternoon. You know, we have a wonderful subject matter. We're going to be talking about, well, it's not really a good topic, but it's a great opportunity for business. We're going to be talking about divorces with Laura Starks, wonderful, brilliant, talented woman. But I have to say, I have the evil bald ninja with me. He's looking extra bald, which is super awesome. Handsome, hashtag staying handsome. How are you, bud?
Listen, we're doing good today, my man. Listen, I think that this is an epic day for RU Live. We're doing an echo into, and it is actually, I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear the echo into Clubhouse. And so hopefully we're gonna get a good following in there. If you are new to RU Live, you should check us out at rulive.com on the web, and you get to see how bald I am.
Yeah, handsome man. But we have a more beautiful woman here, Laura Starks. Laura, tell us a little bit about you and kind of break it down. What's your favorite color? Do you like going for long walks on the beaches, and how in the heck do you get into divorces? Let's talk about that.
Hi, nice to be here. Laurel Starks in Southern California, specifically in Rancho Cucamonga, the Inland Empire region of Southern California. So I am a mom of 2 teenage boys, and I am a wife, and I've got 2 dogs. I like to go to the beach for sure, and I like to walk on the beach, but I don't have enough time, unfortunately, to do that. But yeah, so I have for the last, it's going on 16 years. I've been in real estate. I used to be a flight attendant in my prior career, and when I got out of the air and hung up my wings, I got into the real estate industry, and my second listing was a divorce listing. So that was really the beginning of this whole journey, and I have since specialized in handling real estate matters and family law cases for the last 15 years. A few years ago, I scaled back my team. I built a really big team and had a whole, ISA department, operations department, sales department, all of that. And I then scaled it back a few years ago so that I could teach and train agents all over the country in how to build a business in divorce real estate. So I started the Alumni Institute in 2018. We launched, and so we are coming up on our 3rd year, and it's been a great journey. So that's what I do. I have 2 businesses. One is a boutique divorce real estate business here in the Inland Empire, and then also my institute teaching and training realtors all over the country.
That's fascinating. A lot of the times people just don't know how to speak to folks who are going through divorces. So walk me through a little bit in regards to kind of how do you have that conversation? Because when you're going through a divorce, it's a highly sensitive time in your life. You might be a little embarrassed. You might be excited. There's a lot of emotions flowing. So how do you get that conversation off the ground so that people are just like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much for reaching out and helping me?
Yeah, so I come into a case 99% of the time. I come into a case through their attorney or through the court. So I'm not outbounding. I don't have a Vulcan dialer that I get up at 7:30 every morning and start pounding all of the recent filings. So they're inbounding to me because they've gotten my information from their attorney or from the court. And when I'm speaking with divorcing homeowners is a very fascinating conversation. They oftentimes are very emotional. Sometimes those emotions can show up just in being stoic and not having much to say. Other times it can be that they show up and they're just very dramatic and trying to get me to buy into their plight, if you will, and sort of team up against the other side and that sort of thing. And I do come across very tragic scenarios and situations. And so there's a bit of a, I guess over the years, you sort of form a way to compartmentalize that and keep a very clear focus on the task that I have to do. And at the same time, I always empathize for people who are going through pain. So it's really a bit of a compartmentalization, if that makes any sense, sort of a little bit of a detachment, almost, if you think about an ER doctor who has to treat, a gunshot victim or something. it's a tragic situation. They've got a job to do, and they've got to put their emotions aside and focus on their skill.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it is definitely a challenging time when it comes to folks that are experiencing hardships like that. But is there a certain technique that you would advise and kind of what you've developed? And of course, I don't want to give away any of your secret sauce, but what is something that you've kind of developed in your being a practitioner, how to deal with divorcees? Because I mean, I have one that I developed, but I would absolutely love to hear kind of your thought pattern on this.
When working with them, when I actually have the case and I'm working with them, it's important to understand, number one, that the only way to be effective in working with a divorce listing is to be neutral and not get too sucked into one side, not to align yourself with one side. If that happens, then you will not have the trust of the other side. And you've got to have the trust and the cooperation of both parties in order to get the listing to close. So neutrality is the one biggest thing. And believe it or not, that it takes a big, there's a lot of skill that goes into being neutral. And also the perception of neutrality, right? They call it perception of bias. So even just the verbal cues, the physical cues that we're giving off, are we giving off cues that we're neutral? And yet we're empathetic, you know, it doesn't mean that we have to be a robot either, but that is the biggest mistake that I see. I replace a lot of agents. So about half of the listings that I take had an agent on them that was unsuccessful at closing it. And so then they got that agent off the case, and then they brought me in, and I have nearly a 100% closing ratio. I haven't lost a listing in a few years, and it's because almost always the reason why the agent failed to sell it is because they failed to be neutral in one way or another.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, Gene. When it comes to marketing on some sort of aspect like this, when it comes to divorces, I know you work on all different kind of aspects. How would you go back? So Laurel comes to you as a listing agent. She's an absolute master at doing the divorces. How would you market that property to be neutral, not take a side?
So can I ask a question first? That's really been bothering me.
Sure.
Is it cheaper to keep her?
It is. I mean, from a financial standpoint, it is almost always cheaper to keep her. And there is actually, there was a conference I went to a few years ago, and it was interesting. There were some finance guys who gave this whole presentation on the cost of divorce and how it impacts your trajectory for wealth building over time. And it was fascinating to see how devastating it is. And most people actually never fully recover from it.
And when you say that, you're talking about the men or the women, or half and half, or what's that look like?
Either.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My wife's been threatening me with this for a long time, and I have successfully staved it off up to this point. So we'll leave it there. Thank you for the free advice, by the way. But so Greg, let's talk about the marketing piece.
Yeah.
I used to run around with a guy that actually did this really cool marketing thing with attorneys. And that was to send a letter to the office with personal and confidential on it, almost like not your standard cut delivery, but almost like a wedding invitation. And so it would have your name on it. And the idea behind it was that it was a letter to you, handwritten. The address was handwritten on it. It said personal and confidential. So it would typically get by the secretary or the assistant, that type of thing. And then at that point, that you obviously, hopefully your message is good enough so that when Laurel sees it, she goes, this guy was kind of creative and crafty. I do need a real estate agent in my downline. Well, I say downline, but you know what I mean? In my arsenal, I'm going to give this guy a call. Yeah. And your team. Right. So that's one of the things aside from your standard old marketing, we talk about just regular print. Facebook advertising is a good one. Word of mouth obviously is going to be good too. Right. So if you're figuring out how to get to the husband who's getting ready to get divorced, or vice versa, the woman, that's always a good mark too. But I think, how do you feel about partnering up with real estate agents for that? I mean, you are one, right? So it's kind of a different thing. But how do you feel about lawyers partnering up with agents?
Yeah, so that's my business model is working as a part of a team for family law attorneys. I'm a real estate resource that serves my whole family law community, and so it's brilliant. The thing is that you have to understand a few things. Number one is lawyers get marketed to all the time by realtors. So you've got to be able to differentiate yourself. How are you any different? How are you able to provide them something that the other 10 agents who have been through their door, who have gotten, a letter on their desk, can't? So how are you any different? And the next thing is understanding their world. So the sale of the house in an active family law case is under the jurisdiction of the court. And it's important that as a realtor who's going to hold themselves out as someone who is a specialist or who knows and understands these things or is an expert or whatever label you want to put on yourself, it's important that you know how the legal system is intersecting with your job as the listing agent in a divorce case. And then the third thing is, if you're going to market to the family law community, you've got to know how to handle these listings and skill up. Family law community is very small. They all talk and they pass names around, good or bad. It's very easy to ruin your reputation very quickly in the family law community. And I see it happen all the time. So if you're going to get one of these cases, how are you going to handle, what is your strategy for handling a case with a high conflict narcissist? The house is in foreclosure. There's a restraining order against both parties. And you have got a client who lives in the house that absolutely refuses to show the home and will not sign any of your documents. What's your strategy behind that? Right. So it's almost worse when an agent succeeds at lead generation and then falls flat on their face and can't handle it. And then that lawyer will never use you again. And the next time that lawyer's on a case with another lawyer who decides that they want to use you, that they won't, they'll tell them about your experience, and then there goes your reputation.
So let me ask you a question for tips for getting started. If a lot of folks are going like, oh my gosh, like I went through a divorce or I had a divorce in my family and I recognize the pain and I saw how this agent didn't do their job and, fill in the blanks. How would you even dip your toe into this pool? That's the fascinating part about it. Because, a lot of folks are like, yeah, divorces, they're horrible. They destroy families. But people need your help at that point. They're going through a very tumultuous time in their life. They need an expert that's going to step in and be like, bro, I got you. My team and I will handle this. Don't worry about it. You deal with you and deal with your spouse, your soon to be ex-spouse, and we'll get the home sold and get you guys to eat your cash. So how do you start with this?
Yeah. So, that's a great question. And the place to start lead generation is your own sphere. Divorces are all around you. Divorces are everywhere. So there are people in your sphere that are going to be getting divorced. There are people in your sphere who know people that are going to be getting divorced. And your sphere is the lowest hanging fruit you'll have. They know you, they trust you. So I always say, start with your sphere. So many people want to get into this business and then they want to start launching into the family law arena. And that is a slow climb to get into it. It is a slow build. That is marathon right there. The fastest business you're going to get is from your sphere. And listen, make no mistake, We are not proponents. I am not a proponent of divorce. I'm not a child of divorce. I've been happily married for 22, going on 23 years. But the reality is that divorce is part of our society, and homes in divorce will be selling. So it may as well be that someone who is a specialist is handling the sale of that house so that that family can net the highest amount of proceeds they possibly can, and they can start to put an end to their pain and start to heal as a family so that they can move on. That's really the crux of what our role is. So, you know, it is starting right there with your sphere and coming from a place of contribution.
So, can I ask? I want to ask something real quick.
Go.
Yeah.
So you made me think of something. Let's talk about etiquette, right? So let's pretend I'm a real estate agent and I have a set of friends that I just learned about. We're going and probably getting divorced. How fast do you move in on that? You know, like it's one of those things like, sorry to hear about it, buddy. By the way, you know, I could sell your house, right? Like what's the etiquette there as far as timing?
Yeah. Okay. So good. Okay. So so if it's okay, I'll answer your question, timing and messaging.
Sure.
So timing. So understanding that a family law case has really, I call it like 3 phases to it. The first phase is where it's like a Band-Aid phase. It is, you know, there's been an escalation of something. Something has driven someone to file. So there may be domestic violence restraining orders they have to get. There may be child custody arrangements that they've got to immediately make some sort of agreement or get orders on. If mom's moving out of the house and she's moving 15 minutes away, where are the kids laying their head at night, right? That's got to get figured out. The money, having temporary support, temporary allocation of money so that they can, you know, survive. That is the first phase typically of a divorce. It's like this Band-Aid phase, dealing with the initial chaos. Once things have been settled, there's 2 households that have been set up temporarily. They've got temporary agreements on how they're going to manage. Then you get into more of the discovery phase or the research and investigation phase. So that's where they get your tax returns and they get, you know, pension information and et cetera, et cetera. They might order child custody evaluations, and that's your investigation phase. And then the last phase is the final decision. Once you've gotten all of your investigation, then there's the final decisions, which either are made by a judge at a trial or they're made by the couple themselves, who come up with final agreements, and they write them up, and then they become orders of the court. So where does a realtor fit into all this? Where does the house fit into all of this? Most of the time, the house is dealt with in the second or third phase or after the case is over. So it's not common, and that's one reason. There are many reasons, but one reason why we don't advocate to go after recent filings, because not only is it distasteful, but it is also typically not time. It's way too early in the case for the house to be listed for sale and for them to be dealing with a realtor. Normally it's later. So in terms of timing, that's the reality. In terms of messaging and what can you do to help? Well, there are a lot of things that divorcing homeowners need to know that they don't know about their real estate. One thing is they're going to need to know the value. That has to get figured out, the value. A lot of times you have people who one spouse wants to keep the house, and maybe they agree, maybe it's fine for one spouse to keep it, but they can't qualify for it, right? So it's very uncommon. I mean, I shouldn't say uncommon because it happens, but it's hard for a divorcing spouse to qualify to buy out their other spouse's equity. You know, divorce, it is no secret that it is devastating on credit. Debt to income ratios get completely skewed because people are maxing out their credit cards to pay for their lawyer fees, to pay for, you know, life, right? And then we've got the run up in equity. This has been a record year in the real estate industry nationwide. So the more equity there is, the more, the higher the loan has to, the bigger the buyout has to be. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it can be very difficult for one spouse to actually buy out the other spouse. So, being a resource for options, being a resource for a value, and being a resource even for credit. What are some things that you need to do in order to preserve your credit when going through a divorce? They'll make fatal errors in phase one that impact their ability to do anything financially using their credit for years. So we can be a resource for that kind of thing. That's where you should show up. That's how you should show up in the beginning.
You have officially convinced me never to get married.
She's convinced me not to get divorced. So there you go.
There you go.
So there you go.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting though. I mean, I think you're spot on. There's a lot in the process that your people that don't do it every day are probably unaware of. And if you become an quote unquote ambulance chaser because you're there too early, that could wreck your relationship and your reputation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to be careful too, that if you've got a friend of a friend, who is getting a divorce, that you don't get too, the stronger the bond you create with one spouse, the more you are conflicting yourself out of neutrality. Okay. So I see this happen all the time. Realtors are working with a relationship with, the husband. And then it comes time to list the house. And the wife is like, well, there's no way we're going to use that person because, you've been talking to them for over a year. No, we're using somebody who's neutral, somebody who doesn't have any vested interest in either, somebody who doesn't know either one of us. So, remember that as well. It's important to keep certain boundaries, or if you can, to involve the other spouse and develop some communication with the other spouse.
But that's actually an interesting point. I've been doing this forever and a day, and we've worked with a lot of divorce couples that are going, different directions. And it's a very true statement you just said that a lot of times, this will always stick in my brain. We had this great, this couple that we worked with them in the past, and they're going to go get divorced, and all of a sudden, Mrs. Seller turned to us, and since we're a predominantly male team, she's like, you know what? I can't work with you. I need a female to walk me through this process. And we're sitting there going like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, we've been with you guys forever and a day. Like, what's the issue? How do you get around something like that? Because the three of us, we were just dumbfounded. We're like you come to all of our Christmas parties, we give you chocolate every year. I mean, you come to our, Cinco de Mayo, and all of a sudden we're the Antichrist. So how can you get around that comment?
Sometimes you can't. I'll be honest. I mean, you can't, not be you, right?
Right.
So sometimes you can't. I have a case where just recently, I was actually in court. The wife filed a motion to have me removed from the case on Monday. We went to court over this.
Dang.
There is husband and wife live in two adjacent properties. So these two properties share a lot line. And and there's a restraining order. So I needed to go to one house and do the walkthrough, and then I needed to go to the other house and do the walkthrough. I just, due to scheduling purposes, I went to the husband's house first. No reason. Somebody had to be first. There was no reason, but I went to his house first. And that alone caused her to believe that I was biased against her and that I could not be neutral. So, listen, there was nothing, there was nothing I could do about that. I mean, I had no idea that that's how she would react or respond to that. But she just felt that I had, and I think she saw my car there, and we walked around the backyard, and she, in hindsight, she's probably looking, whatever, out her window, and just, and thinks that now I'm in cahoots with him. The court did not relieve me from the case, so I'm still on the case. But that's just an example of how we can do things, that are perceived one way. And yeah, so in your case, I just don't think that there was probably much you could have done.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like there is a no-win situation, and sometimes it's even better to walk away from the deal, unfortunately, because you bring more pain to the scenario than pleasure and empowerment to each side. When it comes down to getting these divorces, what's a script that you use when you have your initial conversation with them in regards to like, hey, my name's Greg, I'm with ABC Real Estate and blah, blah, blah. And how do you, because I mean, everyone's tensions are super high. I mean, I went through bankruptcy and foreclosure back in 2008, 2009, right when the crash took place. And it was super embarrassing and humiliating for me when I had, the bank call me, or they posted signs on my front door about, the bullshit they're going to do. And it was demoralizing. Yeah. So when people are going through something that's super, super hypersensitive, how do you approach them and not piss them off or not put them on the defensive?
Yeah. So, basically, when I have my initial, my initial call is really to just say, hi, my name is Laurel Starks, and I am a neutral third party. I have no vested interest in either side, and I'm here to ensure that the orders by the court are carried out and followed, that there are no shenanigans, and that you all are able to walk away as unscathed as possible with as much money as you possibly can to start over.
Nice.
That part's interesting because I just lost my train of thought. You just had me thinking about something when you're like, how do you find these people, right? So like you said, there's probably divorce filings that maybe you keep your eye on. I guess that's probably the best way. But most people aren't standing on their roof yelling, hey, everybody. Like if you remember the scene in The Office where Michael yells, I declare bankruptcy. Yeah. Like there's no, you're not typically doing that. So you're not really out there going, I think in most cases, hey, by the way, I'm getting divorced, right? That's a private thing for a lot of people. So outside of the obvious stuff, right? How do you set yourself up to be the go-to person when people are coming to?
Yeah. So again, this is really like an inbound lead generation model. It's where you've put yourself out there as someone who has superior knowledge and skill to handle these things, and which means that you do need to have superior knowledge and skill. And then it is, so we just finished wrapping up the Divorce Niche Boot Camp. And I co-taught that with a divorce attorney, Shelly John, who is on our faculty. So this is how and why I started the Alumni Institute, was to help realtors build businesses in this niche. And we have two programs. I mean, I'm just giving you, how we teach. One of them is a full-blown certification program, but I don't recommend people start there. The entry level is the Divorce Niche Boot Camp. And in that course, we basically teach how to infuse the divorce niche into your overall touch program, into your overall marketing program. So again, it's coming from contribution. And then over time, people see that. And then you've got, you create a situation where you're getting inbound calls, those inbound calls. I'm not a proponent, I'm not an advocate, and I don't teach how to prospect divorce and divorce filings. It's a different approach.
That's a very good distinction right there, because a lot of people say, well, how am I going to go find my leads, right? You're like, no, like our boy Zach here is talking about, go make a connection with the family law attorneys and start getting be the resource and go after them from that point of view. when it comes down to just building those relationships as real estate agents, I mean, we love two things more than anything on God's green earth. We love free booze and free food, right? You give me free booze and free food, you put them together, I'll show up anywhere you want, anytime you want, any day of the week you want. How would you approach the attorneys? Are they the same mentality, just a bunch of booze hounds and chunky monkeys?
So attorneys, interestingly enough, in the family law world and in the legal world, they depend on experts in their cases. So there are experts in a family law case for child custody, for forensic accounting, for dividing pensions. There's a whole myriad of experts that they rely upon, and they need a real estate expert. The difference between all the other experts and our industry is that all those other experts have got formal training and education, and most of those experts dedicate their entire business to that. So a forensic CPA in a family law case, that is all they do, is forensic work in family law. Child custody evaluators, they're psychologists. All they do is handle child custody disputes in family law cases. So in the real estate realm, we don't have a consistent, formalized training or certification that teaches realtors exactly how to do that. So understand, coming from a family law attorney, family law attorneys are used to working with experts who are experts in their field and experts in family law. So that's why we started the Alumni Institute. We have the CDRE program, Certified Divorce Real Estate Experts. It is a 6-month, highly intensive training program that you have to apply for. We only accept the elite people. And then from that point is when you're then ready to really serve the family law attorneys. I mean, yeah, you could take a family law attorney out to dinner, and you could, or you could bring them lunch, or you could, host a happy hour. I mean, sure, there's nothing that says you can't do that. But what happens when you get that humdinger of a case and you're in over your head?
Right.
And you screw it up and you make that lawyer look bad.
Yeah. Oh, Gene, by the way, I'm sorry to tell you, Laurel just sent me an email before the show. You were not accepted into the program. I know you. I'm really sorry about that, buddy.
I understand. I think she's just worried that all the, getting ready to be divorced women would be sidetracked. So, and I understand that. So I appreciate it.
Laurel, walk me through a little bit the program. We're going to wrap this up here in a minute, but I want you to talk about your program, the product, kind of what goes into that, what people are going to get, the price, accessibility, the whole 9 yards. Because I think and this is really sad. I hate saying this, so guys, just knock on wood. God bless you. I hope our marriages and relationships stay solid, and you guys remain strong together. But if they were going to be getting into the divorce sector and they want to learn how to serve people the best, what would they get covered? Because COVID is taking a massive effect on relationships in a negative and positive way. You really know if you like the person, you really know if you don't like the person after about a year. So how do they get involved, and what's involved with the course?
Yeah. So we really have two main programs. So the first place to start is our Divorce Niche Bootcamp. And that is it's a video. It is an on-demand. We are just launching it. It's our 2.0 series, and it's on demand. It's divorce attorney Shelley Jean John and I are both co-teaching it. And we cover 3 main buckets. Attorney John, she teaches the law, what realtors need to know about the law and the divorce process as it impacts the house and real estate. Then I teach how to handle the listing from cradle to grave, literally the script and the tools for that very first phone call all the way through to close of escrow. We have role plays where we've got actors who we do an actual listing appointment. We do an actual objection handlers, how you overcome it so you can see it. It brings the lessons to life. And we teach you how to deal with the drama of high conflict personalities, how to remain neutral. Then the last segment is how to maximize your database. So now that you're armed with knowledge, how do you execute it, and how do you get more business from the investment that you've just made? And so then our students literally walk away with a 12-month divorce real estate marketing campaign that they have built throughout the course. That's what's cool. It's a very interactive course. And you've built your own, that we walk you through those steps. And then when you're done with the course, I mean, you are ready to go the next day and start marketing it. So that is our Divorce Niche Bootcamp. That's the place to start. Then our certification program, which is the one that is limited, we only do it twice a year. We only accept 25 students per course. It's a 6-month program. And that one our next one's coming up in April. And that class is where we have our entire faculty of family law attorneys, divorce mortgage professional, judge, and we go into a massive deep dive into family law and real estate, and how to hold yourself out as an expert, and how to serve all the needs of the family law community. We also have an entire marketing. We handle the marketing for you. We give you everything. We provide it all for you. And then we are also the largest national provider. You can invite all of your attorneys to continuing legal education webinars, where your attorneys will get legal education credits once a month for free, because you're a CDRE. So that we put on, we host, we teach all of that. We also teach you and develop you into how to host your own, how to do lunch and learns. How do you meet with a lawyer? What are your scripts for having a meet and greet with a lawyer, and your entire marketing campaign that is, it is completely we drill down step by step, all the way down to the kind of paper you print your stuff on. I mean, it is very, very, very detailed. We have an entire dashboard for that. So, and we're a community. We have a CDRE retreat. Our first one's coming up this year. And then you become part of this elite group of other CDREs who are building businesses throughout the country together. And our community is amazing. They blow my mind every day, and they all support each other and share ideas, and they get stuck with something, and we all jump in to help, or they just won a big meeting with a huge big firm in town, and all of that. So awesome. It's really, really cool. You can go to, as a matter of fact, we do have a free divorce real estate handbook that you should download. Every single person who's watching this should download it. Yeah, if you just text the word free to 833-425-7018. So 833-425-7018, text the word free, and then you will get our divorce real estate handbook. It's got lots of great information in there to get you started.
Oh, that is phenomenal. And Nikki I'm going to bring this up here so you guys are watching. There is the number to text in right there. Gene, what say you on this? Because I know divorce is a big thing. And I know what they're offering is a phenomenal opportunity. Is there anything you would add on top of this, or would you like to dig deeper on offline and you guys can figure out how to work together?
Yeah, no. So I find, Philip, let me first qualify this by saying, number one, I just met Laurel right before this call. So we have no relationship. It's not like I'm going to make any money from selling this course, right? But I find it to be quite interesting that you can sort of create a parallel income by going through this. And it's probably a niche that's fairly untapped in a lot of areas. Like, I feel like, just because I was going to ask you, is there places where this is going to be an open-ended question, and I think it's going to be difficult to answer. Maybe I could be wrong, but like, is there a specific space, whether you say geographically or some other variable, that this works better than others? So like, I come into your space and I go, all right, I'm going to pay you for the course. Let's start this marketing campaign. And then it falls on its face versus this guy's crushing it. Everybody's knocking on his door every week. And you see any variables there that sort of indicate how this course is going to go?
No, the only reason why it doesn't work is because is failure of execution. That's the only reason why we're located now. We're in 20 of CDREs in 23 states. Okay. And some are just blowing the socks off of their whole family law community. They've completely transformed their business. It's a whole different business model. And then others that have just flat out not executed. And so it really boils down. It boils down to the execution, and I mean, it's really scary when you think about I think we've all gotten a harsh reality check on the power that big tech holds.
Mm-hmm.
They have silenced the commander-in-chief of the United States at the flip of a switch, whether you like it or not, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on.
Yep.
They have got all the power, and I think the whole world is kind of standing back going, holy shit.
Yeah.
That they just did that. And Zillow just got its MLS license or whatever. Facebook is changing algorithms all the time. Google is doing the same. And if you're realtors, I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, right? I'm just not into that. But if there was ever a time that a realtor should be freaking out about how much they control their business, if they depend on big tech, now's the time. I would never want to be an agent right now who depended on Zillow leads, depended on Google AdWords, who depended on Facebook ads. I would never want to be. I would be freaking out right now. All they have to do is triple their rates. What happens if they triple their rates?
You're done. You're done.
You're done. The only way for you to truly control your business is to build your own platform. Build your own platform. Who are you? Be in relationship with your sphere and your community. That is how you control your business.
Yeah.
Then have a message to send to them.
What we're talking about here is relationships. And, when my father got into the business 50 years ago, that's with a 50 attached to that. What he did, there was no cell phones, there was no internet, there was none of this hoopla. He went out and went door knocking, made cold calls, and he built relationships with people. He had the mindset of like, everybody likes me, they just don't know me yet. I think a lot of us are afraid of the rejection, that teeny itsy bitsy teensy weensy word called no, that little two-letter word that holds so much power in us. I and correct me, Laurel, if I'm misspeaking, and if I am, please, say I am. But I mean, what you're saying is basically go out and be a human being to these different attorneys, because the folks that they're working with are going through a tragic time in their life, and they need support by the best possible professional that they can, get their hands on. And like you said, if you're going to rely on big tech, yes, there's a chance you will get censored. I mean, shit, the show will probably get censored from us talking about being censored. But I mean, it's a reality of the world we live in right now. So why don't you go be uncensored, like our show says, and go make a friend? You say, hey, Laurel, I see that you have a client. Can I come over and help you out? What value can I bring to you? Sign up for a course.
Open Door is not even on my radar. Zillow is not even on my radar. I couldn't give two shits what any of them are doing. I see all this stuff on Facebook and on, Inman. I get it all the time, and everybody's freaking out about all these things. It does not affect my business. Zillow becoming a broker in the MLS, Open Door going public and getting whatever market share they've got, it has zero impact on my relationships with family law attorneys and the courts and the future of my business. It just doesn't impact it.
Right.
And until you're in a position, realtors, online leads have made realtors snowflakes. There, I said it.
Yes.
They are afraid of rejection, and they get this dopamine hit every time you get a push notification that says you've got a new lead. Who cares? You got a new lead. You didn't get, it's not a lead. You got somebody's name and address who was surfing on the freaking internet for a house. That's it. It's all you got. I mean, so, and most realtors don't do the math on how much they're spending on these, their Zillow spend or whatever, and how much they're actually netting by the time you've split it with your broker, you've split it with your team, you've split it with, everybody that gets a piece of the pie, and you add it all up. How much are you actually walking away with? And I've seen time and time again, agents who are so hooked like crack on Zillow leads, and they will miss their house payment before they're going to miss that Zillow payment, because the minute they miss that Zillow payment, they're out of business.
They are 100%. Gene, I know you do. You pretty much, your business is doing lead generation. So give me your thoughts on this, because obviously you're not Zillow, right? You're not going to charge people $15,000 a month to get 500 leads or whatever the number is going to be, but you're going to be very strategic about it. So there's difference between shotgun versus laser when it comes to your marketing. So walk me through that really quickly.
Well, you're right. I won't charge them $15,000. It'll be $14,500 per month. So I'm glad you put that out there. I honestly, I would love, if I'm being honest, I think I would love to see what the marketing, and this is not me asking you to see it. I would love to go through that to see what the marketing looks like in there, and then basically subsidize outside of it. So depending on what it looks like inside the course, which I haven't seen, I would just add some standard tips and tricks. I mean, I don't think, Laurel, if I heard you right, you shouldn't completely rely on the digital stuff, but that doesn't mean you should completely ignore it either, right? Like, we can use some of that advertising in conjunction with your course, or just help.
All your eggs are in one basket.
Gotcha.
That's the problem, is when all your eggs are in one basket.
Yeah, I would love to see the layout of this thing. I mean, done for you marketing in a specific lane, in a highway lane, is right up my alley. I love that. And I'm actually thinking about the agents I'm working with now, or the mortgage companies that I'm working with. How can we implement something that will help our partners generate these divorce leads? It's kind of interesting. It's a really interesting concept. The other thing I want to say is, thinking about this stuff, partnering up with attorneys in the past for me was always like, send them a letter, and I'm not going to simplify it this much, but send them the letter. You make that relationship with them, and then they will send you all their leads. But it isn't just the marketing aspect of it. It's actually learning the process, when the certain things happen in the steps of it. Like, I'm just thinking what a nightmare it would be when you run in the middle of something that you're not supposed to be in the middle of and ask for somebody for business. You're going to get screwed. So like the timing of how things work out, they file first, and then these three things happen, and then you can watch the house, them split custody and all, like that. There's so much more to that. And when you said up front, 6 months, I'm like, what the hell are we going to talk about in 6 months? She hates him. The end. I can help you sell your house. And there is so much more in that process. That's really an interesting take on generating leads into your real estate business.
Laurel, let's do this. Let's wrap the show up here. Please let everybody know where they can get a hold of you, where they can get your course, kind of get into your world. This is something that they're kind of itching to get it and get involved with, because see the tidal wave coming. So how can they reach out to you, and what would be the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. So go to thedivorceniche.com. That is where we have our online boot camp, and you can sign up there. Then the other way is, like I said, if you download the Divorce Real Estate Handbook for Realtors, then you will also be invited to all of our Ask the Experts webinar series. You'll basically get into our world. There is no charge for any of that. So again, you'll want to text the word free to 833-425-7018. And then you'll be the first to know about all the happenings and the education that we have that's available to you at your fingertips at no charge.
I
love that. Love it.
Love it. Gene Velope, where can we get a hold of you and what services do you provide to the world?
I am not currently providing any services. I am a wealthy man sitting on a yacht, and therefore I do not need any more money. While that's not entirely true, I will say I'm not going to sell anything on this. What I would say is this was our first foray into the live stream on Clubhouse, which I know we had some technical glitches there. If you hung in with us, I appreciate it. We will get it right. Thank you to Zach Hammer, who helped moderate that. This was interesting. So go follow me on Clubhouse at Gene Volpe, and let's connect over there. That's the only thing I ask you to do.
That sounds a good deal. And he is a talented, incredibly good-looking man. Laura is a beautiful, intelligent woman. Guys, go make sure you follow everything that these two are doing. I appreciate your time. All of you guys who know me for anything real estate or anything else like that, go and message me on Greg McDaniel on Facebook. I'll be happy to get back to you, or Greg McDaniel REU on Instagram. Follow me there as well. And Gene, I'm going to start doing the what is it called? Clubhouse. I'm gonna start doing the Clubhouse. The Clubhouse. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of like saying, like, hey, have you guys heard of the Book of Faces? Greg, do you mean Facebook? Yes, that one. Yes.
The Clubhouse.
Follow me there, guys. And Gene, I need you to do your job as my co-host today. Need a color for the bow.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go with the water that I have today. Let's go blackberry.
Oh, I like it. All right, guys, there it is. That is our show for the day. Laurel's a wealth of information when it comes to divorces and how to get business and help folks who are going through a hard time in their life. Make sure you go and follow her. If you like the content of any of us, leave a review for us, not a 2-star, but a 5-star review on any of your podcasting sites. Comment and mention us in there. That way we can help the algorithm get us seen by more people. But this is going to be, what are we doing? Blackberry?
Blackberry.
We're doing a blackberry bow on the show. So thank you guys so much. I love you guys. Laurel, you are an absolute rock star. Thanks for dropping knowledge bombs with us. Gene, you are hashtag staying handsome as always. Have a blessed, beautiful, powerful weekend, guys. And until next time, peace out, ninjas. We are gone.